over his head. I managed to take him out with us, actually hoping for a miracle to happen, or maybe my arena. I had 3 over to the dungeon with to the ribbon, but this guy could flip them. Hey, how you doing? The melee class. Quite frankly, my favorite class in Terraria. But I pondered, what happens if I took what makes playing melee, or any class, so possible and fun, and just threw it out the window? That's right, armor. The sweet defense boost you get to let you tank hits, the set bonuses that make you and your weapon stronger and faster by like times a trillion. Oh yes. I decided to pursue on this very painful journey just to see how bad it really is to beat Terraria without any armor. Well, it's time for you to sit back, grab a bag of pretzels with a Capri Sun or a Sunny D, and enjoy the video. Now spawning into my soon-to-be new hell, I do what any other casual Terraria player would do and start chopping down trees to make some small humble abodes for some NPCs to move in. In the middle of the building process, I make my first weapon, a wooden sword. A legendary one, in fact. Well, isn't that just great? But literally 2 minutes later, I find myself a trident, which is actually a very nice upgrade from the start, as I'll need all I can get for later on. Now heading to the left, I find a cave, and in the cave I find a life crystal, death, and well, that's about it. So I move on to the right side to see if there's another cave, and oh, looky here, there's one. So I creep my way down into the cavern and almost immediately find an underground house which had Hermes boots. Right off the bat. I then find another house with some shoe spikes. Can't complain. Moving on, I find more Hermes boots which had a better modifier, so I swapped them with mine. I also find a lot of ores and gems, and since I had an anvil on me, I went ahead and made an amethyst gem hook right away. I also managed to find the underground jungle, which is great, because now I can gather everything I need for the blade of grass without too much of a hassle. Right? Wrong. But we'll talk about that in a sec. Now on the surface, I set up a small crafting area, then smelt some gold to make a better pick. Wanna guess what modifier I got on it? I then head over to the merchant to sell some stuff and then set up a small storage area. And after I was done sorting my stuff, I head back to the underground jungle to collect everything I need in order to make the blade of grass. Thinking it was gonna be nothing more than a simple run, it ended up being a very, very long hour of me consistently dying to bees and slimes. But eventually I was able to collect all I needed, even if it was through the most bullshit killing methods I could think of. Also, while down there, I found these 3 mahogany chests next to each other which contained a little pet turtle which I wore for the rest of this playthrough. His name is Sam. Some pharaoh claws, which is absolutely amazing, and an anklet of the wind. Now at the surface, I make my well-deserved prize and start heading to the right of my world. And I stumble into a crimson biome, which I proceed to find one of the caves and bomb a few hearts. I also discovered both sides of my world while I was at it, and find the dungeon and the angler, which just why? Anyway, while I was already at the dungeon, I start setting up an arena over there as my plan was to fight Skeletron that night for some reason. But I changed my mind last second and fought the Eye of Cthulhu instead, which was a wiser choice. It seemed a bit risky since I only had 140 health, but I just said fuck it and spawned him in. And honestly, it wasn't that bad. I got pretty low at the end, but still ended the fight with a pretty solid win. I then spawned Skeletron in right after and got smacked up. And at home, I made some flower pots to be able to grow daylines for some iron skin and regen potions. And I made 2 houses. I then go back to the mines in search of some life crystals, as I was going to need all the health I can get too. And after finding a pretty good amount of life crystals and loot, I make my way to the Crimson as I wanted to fight the Brain of Cthulhu to progress as fast as possible. I set up 4 layers of platforms with a singular campfire, make the bloody spine, and I'm ready to start the match. And my blade of grass absolutely shreds through the creepers, leaving me with a now exposed brain, and not long after, I take home the victory. Now with a good amount of Crimtane bars, I make the Deathbringer pickaxe as well as the Blood Butcher, then head right back to the mines. I find a bit more life crystals and accessories, but once I was done, I head to the surface to make a fishing rod and buy a bug net, as some of the potions I'll be needing requires a bit of fishing to be done. I scavenge through the jungle to find some bait, then make my way to the Crimson and Underground caverns as I wanted some Hemopiranhas and armored cave fish for some rage and endurance potions. I also planted some blink root so I could start growing some. After that, I spent a long time just mining for the rest of the life crystals I needed. And shortly after I had full health, so I went to the edge of my world and started farming for Goblin Scouts as I wanted the Goblin Tinker NPC to change some of my awful modifiers. And once I had enough, I make a loom to make the Goblin Battle Standard and spawn them right in. And they were fairly easy to deal with, so I make my way to the underground to find the Bound Goblin. And after finding and freeing him, I buy the Tinker's Workshop and a pair of rocket boots, but I was gonna need a bit more money before reforging anything, so I couldn't do it at the moment. So, with the 5 Eye of Cthulhu spawners I found, I fought 3 before heading to Hell to mine some Hellstone and find a Hellforge. Using the obsidian I found from mining, I make a bunch of Hellstone bars and a handy volcano and molten pickaxe. After reforging my volcano to the Golly modifier and my blade of grass to legendary, I make a few potions then head to the dungeon as I wanted to fight Skeletron. Using my blade of grass for his hands and my volcano for his head, I managed to take him out without too much of a struggle. But of course not without having a close call or two. With the dungeon now being unlocked, it gives me access to a very important upgrade, which is the Knight's Edge of course. So I start to farm for gold keys in order to find the mirror moss to make that beast of a melee weapon, and end up finding it in the first chest. Not bothering to even go look for the shadow key, I head to the Crimson to immediately make the Knight's Edge. After that I buy a bunch of rope so I can go to the skies to get some harpy feathers to make some gravitation potions. While soaring through the air, I find 3 sky islands which contained a red balloon, a lucky horseshoe, and a star fury, which sadly was not useful now. But I did end up combining the accessories together. And since I was broke, I went ahead and finished off the other 2 Cthulhus I had, and my Knight's Edge was just amazing. And after reforging some of my accessories to Violent, I figured I was about ready to start going into hard mode, so I head down to hell to start making a platform for the Wall of Flesh. I then wanted some more money for reforging, so I went to the dungeon to find the shadow key to go unlock a bunch of shadow chests just to sell everything. And after some more mining and reforging, I was finally ready to fight the Wall of Flesh, so I placed a bunch of campfires and heart lanterns along the platform before giving him a shot. And got sabotaged by a fucking bone serpent, so I was pretty happy about that. And since my houses were full, I had to make some more to get the guide back. While waiting for the guide to return, I went and got some more fish and plants for even more potions. And back once more, I threw the voodoo doll into the lava to start the fight again. And I die. Not once, not twice, but 7 times. I know it may not seem like it's that bad, but I spent so long having to regather everything for the potions and money so I could reforge my sword to legendary, and it was just around 5 hours of farming and pain. This fight kind of made me fully understand what exactly I was getting myself into doing this challenge, but I ain't no bitch. I don't care if it took me 100 attempts. Okay, I don't know about that. But moving on, now being in hard mode, I can literally feel the dread wash over me with the countless deaths that'll be upcoming. But ignoring that, I open the bag hoping for a warrior emblem, and of course, I don't get it. So immediately I head over to my shimmer biome to transform it into one. After that, I smashed some altars for the new ores to spawn, but then I remember finding this really weird duplication glitch which requires a crystal and platforms hammered into this position, and oh wow. Now, I feel like this is kind of cheating, but in a way I honestly would rather just use this instead of spending years farming for money, so that's exactly what I did. I used this as a coin farm for the remainder of the playthrough, and I did not regret it. After I was done filling my piggy bank with tons of cash, I go to the mines to get enough ores for the mithril anvil and a titanium forge. I also find a mechanical worm down there, which was nice. I also realized since I'm in hard mode, the Dryad can now sell corruption seeds, which is huge for me, because now I can make an artificial corruption biome and be able to fish for Ebenkoi, which will grant me access to the Wrath potion. I also could fish in the hollow for Prismite for some life force potions. I then head to the underground Crimson to collect Souls of Night as I want to fight Crimson Mimics for the Flesh Knuckles, and on the second Mimic I'm lucky enough to have it drop. I was gonna make the Berserker's Glove, but I didn't have a Titan Glove, so I couldn't make the Power Glove. So instead, I started making an arena for the mechs, as I was gonna need a ton of space for them. But after seeing the Traveling Merchant come by, I stopped everything I'm doing to go check if he's selling the rare Lifeform Analyzer, which he is. So now I have a way of actually finding mimics a whole lot easier, so that's what I went and did. I pretty much just used the platform I used to fight the Wall of Flesh and waited for them to spawn. And thanks to the Lifeform Analyzer, I could see when one spawns nearby so I can just run over and kill them. And after a few mimics, I managed to get myself the Titan Glove, so I combined that with my Pharaoh Claws to make the Berserker's Glove. And after reforging some of my accessories, I placed some campfires on my arena and tried out the Destroyer, which goes terribly. I didn't even stand a chance against the damn thing. So I figured I needed a better weapon. Why didn't I think of that before? I have not the slightest clue. So I went to the underground snow to farm Icy Merman and Ice Tortoise to try and get the Ice Sickle, as it has some pretty good piercing which might help. And after about an hour it drops, so I can finally go home. I reforged it to legendary and try out the worm again, and it went even worse than the first time. So I just spent the rest of the night selling crystal meth and reforging all my accessories to the violent modifier. After that, I started doing a shit ton of terraforming as I finally formed enough brain cells to realize I was going to need a bigger arena to fight and somewhat of a plan. So before fighting the mechs again, I went down to the underground Crimson to kill Ichor shooters to get Ichor to brew some Ichor flasks, and that's about it. Now being night, I decided to try out the twins as maybe they'll be slightly easier than the Destroyer, and they weren't. I did it twice actually, hoping for a miracle to happen or something, which it never did. So I look at my options. Wings. I don't have wings for some reason, so I make some angel wings. I then realized I can upgrade my cross necklace to the Star Veil, so I did that too. Maybe my arena? I had 3 more platforms, but then I had an epiphany. A goblin army was on its way, and then it hit me. Why don't I just use the Shadow Flame knife? Problem solved. Now this is just me, but I don't exactly consider this thing a melee weapon, because just look at it. But it did still say melee, so Now ready to fight the destroyer again. My plan was to just use my mount to quickly speed away from any lasers or probes while rapid firing knives at the worm. And I did die, but I ended up getting really far, which gave me hope. I waited for night to come around again so I could finally finish off the stupid worm, and I swapped out my stinger necklace for the cobalt shield, as last time I couldn't really ride away on my mount because I was just getting knocked all over the place, which was very aggravating. Anyway, spawning in the destroyer again, I die again, but on the next night it was finally over. I struggled so much in this fight with dodging the lasers and the random shit enemies that would spawn on my arena, but it was over. This fight was just traumatizing and I never wish to experience it again. Anyway, now that my first mech boss was defeated, Life Fruit was now able to spawn in the jungle, but silly me forgot to set up a Life Fruit farm, so it took me pretty much up until Moonlord to actually fill my health all the way. I also used the hollow bars to make the Excalibur and the Junjir, the little funny spear thing, and of course they were pretty amazing. I then went ahead and started mentally preparing for the next mechs, so I went to the underground hollow to start farming Souls of Light to make the mechanical skull for the upcoming night. And ready to fail miserably, I spawned Skeletron Prime in, and he was actually really easy. I thought he was about to be the hardest one, but I guess I was wrong. As soon as I took out his laser hand, the fight was pretty much over for him. I then went to the underground jungle to search for some life fruit, as maybe some started to grow, but I found none. But I did get butterfly dust, so I immediately went to get some more souls of flight so I can make the butterfly wings, as the angel wings were just not it. And after making the very stylish pair of wings, I yet again farmed for more souls to make a few mechanical eyes. I also did more fishing cause buffs. And right as I was about to spawn the twins in, I get a message in chat indicating that they were already on their way, so that's neat. And they weren't that bad, as long as I kept a distance between us. Retinizer was the main problem for me. His lasers were just actually heat-seeking me. No matter where I went, I would still end up getting hit so many times by them. And Spasmatism wasn't that bad to deal with. I just used my mount whenever he would charge at me. And now with all the mech bosses being defeated, I can now put on a lot of upgrades. So I started off by making the mechanical minecart just because I can. I then made the pickaxe axe, the almighty True Knight's Edge. I upgraded my warrior emblem into the Avenger emblem and just reforged everything. I wanted to make the mechanical glove, but I needed another pair of feral claws, so I was gonna have to fish for some. But before fishing, I go to mine some chlorophyte to turn my Excalibur into the true Excalibur, which do I even need to explain why? I then started the long fishing process for some feral claws, but when I finally got some, I combined that with the Titan glove to get another power glove, then combined that with the Avenger emblem to get the mechanical glove, then combined that with the magma stone in order to get the fire gauntlet. Beautiful. Right after that, I go down the hill to fight the wall of flesh again to get myself another warrior emblem for some more damage. And while searching for some life fruit, I finally found 3, so I shimmered one for the defense boost and ate the other 2. And since I had nothing really left to do besides fight Plantera, I start to work on a huge space for her, which took a while because everything kept killing me, but I finished it. And after getting even more potions and placing campfires and heart lanterns all over my arena, I go ahead and break the bulb, which contains the either fun joyous time or the I don't want to play anymore time. I mainly used my true Excalibur for the first phase as I could just circle around her, but for the second phase, the True Knight's Edge really does come in handy as it shreds through all her minions. And after just a few more swipes from my blade, the giant plant goes down, surprisingly, on my first try. And opening the loot bag, I end up getting a Seedler, which is actually cracked, so I was definitely happy about that. But soon after, I head to the temple to obtain the solar tablet so I can start the solar eclipse to kill Mothrons for the broken hero sword, as you could probably already know what I want to make. But since it was still night, I start to make a little pedestal for my relics as I feel I should build something nice. But I put it on hold since it was now day. And not long after, Mothron does show up and drops it on the first kill. So I go over to my anvil to make... Can you stop? The Terrorblade, and oh boy, does this weapon absolutely shit all over enemies and bosses. Having Violent on all my accessories just makes this thing even deadlier. So right away, I sell crystals to be able to forge this thing into legendary. Then I head to the temple to finish clearing it out. And before I fought Golem, I said to myself, hey, this is about to be easier than the Eye of Cthulhu. I must have some fucking curse on myself, because this fight ended up being almost as stressful as Moonlord was. I spent days dying to this thing over and over and over and over and over again. So I came up with a solution. Why don't I just go ahead and farm for the Crimson Key? Vampire Knives will definitely 100% help me win, so I farmed for it. Want to guess how long it took? Over 5 hours straight of me just slaughtering Crimson enemies. I wish to never have to experience this again. I was literally losing my mind, sitting in the fucking Crimson Cavern, killing everything I see. So after that long process, I immediately head to the dungeon to get my vampire knives, then head to the temple to fight Golem again. And you could probably guess how it ended this time. Now back at home, I finished making my little build as I kind of forgot about it. So I added a bit more to it, and I mean, I guess it looks pretty nice. I then go to the jungle to harvest some life fruit, as I'm sure plenty had time to grow, and fought Plantera again just because I could. I also upgraded the beetle wings earlier after killing Golem, forgot to mention that. And I started to feel like I should fight the cultists, so I went over to the dungeon with no potions and gave it a shot. I didn't get far at all. So while waiting for the cultists to respawn, I had a cloud under my relic structure and fight the mechs again for some more souls. And before I knew it, it was time to fight the cultist again. So I summoned him in, and this time it went way better, since I used my vampire knives a bunch. And after a good minute, he goes down and the pillars were rising, here to offer me even more pain. Except it wasn't an offer, it was more of a promise. Since the Stardust pillar spawned right next to me, I went ahead and did it first. And after a few deaths from the enemies a pillar over that kept following me to the Stardust one, I took it out. I then worked on the Vortex pillar since it was in my way to get to the Solar pillar. And it sucked. Now, the Solar pillar. The pillar which will give me weapons from the cosmos and just make my life a bit more easier. I take it out with almost no trouble and collect the fragments to make the sweet, sweet daybreak. Now before taking on the last pillar, I prepare some more potions and fish for another pair of feral claws to make another mechanical glove. Also, for some reason it gave me 2 power gloves stacked. I'm not quite sure why, but I'll take it. I also made the solar eruption since I figured I need it. And after finishing all that, I go ahead and start taking out the last pillar. And this pillar was just hell. I died way too many times during this. And now with the pillar down, I head to the middle of my arena and... well, that shouldn't be a problem. I'll just make a celestial sigilant. Well, time to do it all over again. I'm sure it shouldn't take me any more times to redo the event, right? Well, after failing at the Moonlord and Cultist, I decided to fight Golem again to try to get the possessed hatchet, but I couldn't even kill the thing again no matter how many times I tried, so I crossed getting that off the list. So I fought the Cultist again, and actually beat him this time. I redid all the pillars again, but before killing the last one, I expanded the shit out of my arena for a smoother run cycle whenever I use my mount. I then took out my last pillar and got a little more farther than last time. Progress. Hey, I'll take it. So I made 3 more sigils to fight him again. Okay, this is getting super frustrating. So I head back to the dungeon for disappointment. Now I had to wait again, but while waiting, I bought the Steampucker wings since they were actually better than mine. Okay, it's again time to fight him again. You know what, dude? So looking at my accessories a bit more, I figured that I should replace my Shield Cthulhu with the Master Ninja gear. So I farmed for everything I needed to make it. Great. What else? Nothing. Time to fight the cultists again. And I finally kill him again. I then redo all the pillars, add even more space to my arena, try out the Empress of Light for some reason, and then start the Moonlord fight yet again. No. I have 3 more. It's fine. I could definitely... No. Well, time to do it all again. Won't you look at that? I actually managed to beat him. Only took 7 hours. Well, there you have it. I beat Terraria without even laying a finger on armor, with melee only. This took an incredibly long time to make, so if you can leave a like on the video, it would ease my pain a lot for making this. Anyway, thanks for watching.